Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of the ShopNotes podcast. It's Phil, Logan, and John today with another great episode. We're going to talk about what woods can you mix together, teaching classes, brand new bandsaws, and more. If you want to stick around for this one, shout out to our sponsor for today's episode. That's Titebond. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com. Tell them ShopNotes sent you.
When you walk into Menards there and be like, who is ShopNotes?
Like, shut up and give me my 11%. All right, I'm going to see what we have for comments from last episode.
That just went up, what, yesterday? 2 days ago?
Yeah, somebody just put it up yesterday.
Yeah.
Finally.
That's all right.
Finally.
Had to let people wait for it.
Right.
I blame my parents. They usually text me on Friday morning and say, hey, it's not up. But they never did. They probably stopped listening.
Yeah, they gave up. They finally gave up.
Yeah. They've reached the end.
Yep. Walter Riggs, who had commented about providing some sort of physical media for back seasons of the TV show, says, I just want to keep them on my media server, make it easy to acquire and a fair price, and piracy will dwindle. Love the show. Welcome back.
To be fair, our audience doesn't know what piracy is. I mean, I think it's all peg legs and booty.
The ShopNotes podcast, where we're earning our explicit label.
I think I know what the title is going to be this week.
Chet Kloss says, woodworking in America was good. A couple logistical clear near misses. We're having to go out in the hall to check the location of the classes and no lunch available for day one.
To be fair, Chet, we had it scheduled. A food truck was supposed to be there. They confirmed the day before, and then they canceled 35 minutes after they were supposed to be there. So,
right.
Apologies.
Yeah.
But we had it covered.
Yeah. There was a mobile barber in the parking lot.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I missed that boat.
I left the first day. I left at lunch, and I came back, and there was like it's like, did the food truck show up? And then I looked closer, and it said mobile barber on the side.
I love this idea.
Luckily people didn't line up for that.
Yeah.
Just get a haircut.
I mean, it just feels like just the natural extension of truck-based commerce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you'd have food trucks,
barber trucks.
I mean, because they already have the pet salon vans that go around.
Why not for humans?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Bookmobile, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Thomas says, definitely need more lead up next year. I hope the next one is not on my anniversary day again. My wife won't stand for it.
Sounds like you need to fix the spouse situation, Kevin. And Kevin, just so you know, because we were just talking about it before we started podcasting, I'm building a project out of ash. It's for you, Kevin. He's always one suggesting I use ash for a workbench.
All right. There you go. So that's what we have for comments on the YouTubes. Again, that one went up on YouTube a little late, but what do you do? And
people might be able to listen to two this week.
Yeah. Would we have wanted to have more lead up for the event? Yes. That would have made Logan and I just that much more sane.
I'll tell you what, though, next year, we already started planning. So we're
look out.
We will have better lead up this time.
Yeah. Because we've made the decision on it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the decision for this one really didn't get finalized till what, March?
Yeah, when did we start?
Oh, if even, yeah.
really late spring, early summer, or
I think it was June.
yeah,
when we started selling. Yeah.
yeah. You think we'll know date and location by the beginning of next year, or
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I would expect we'll have date and location before end of November. I would hope.
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. We'll see.
we'll mail out save the
Things-
dates.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
save
I would-
every weekend next year.
Yeah. Just hold on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will. It'll be interesting. You get towards this time of year, and then there's just a lot of like school kid stuff going on, and then you throw a bunch of major holidays in there,
Mm-hmm.
and people using up vacation days, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So
woke up this morning, frost on the ground. Right, this is I think our second frost we've had this year. I'm hoping that takes care of some of the Asian lady beetle infestation that I have going on, because we are right now in beetle infestation in the shop, and we are also in mouse season. We
Also,
have
stink bug and box
Yes.
elder bug season.
yeah, I mean all the nasties you don't want.
Mhm.
We've had my old lady cat has caught killed 2 mice in the last week, and then she brought a live one into the office yesterday, and I got yelled at by my wife to come out there as I was out here prepping for a class. So I went in there, and this mouse is running around in the office. I'm trying to catch it. I'm too fat and slow. I couldn't catch it. So I shut the door, and I yelled at her, "Go get Goose!" So we called in the big guns and brought him in there and dropped him, and he took care of that one. And then I caught 2 more last night out here in the shop. Just can't get rid of the little bastards. So I think this means we need more cats out here.
Are you feeding them?
No, there's nothing to eat. I do have a jar of mouse peanut butter out there, but
They love it.
they can't get in. Well, yeah, I mean the ones in the trap loved it until their little skulls got smashed.
Ooh,
But yeah,
chunky peanut butter.
yeah. But because we talked about spider season a couple of
right.
months ago. Well, I think we're way past that now, because I haven't seen a spider in the shop in quite a while. Well, I think it's probably because Goose gets in the corners and collects all the webs. But yeah, now it's the other crawlies.
The number of new spider webs in my shop has gone way, way down.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I wonder if the cold kind of puts them dormant.
could be.
Yeah.
Have to reread Charlotte's Web and see what the whole story is there.
Yep.
All right. So in addition to mice, you've had other guests in your shop.
Yes, we had my first class. Did you already have a class, or Craig had a class already?
Craig had a class. Mine isn't until early November.
So the 3 of us, myself, Phil, and Craig Rexay, are he was actually at Woodsmith, and then he was at Wood Magazine. We teach classes every fall and spring for the Des Moines woodworkers. And my first class was last night. We had 4 newer woodworkers in to build this guy, which I think is honestly one of my, there we go. I'm sure it's maybe in the full frame camera. So it's this little mantle box. I think when Chris designed it, he kept calling it, what was he calling it? Like a ceremonial box. And we're like, oh boy, it feels like it should be like an Indiana Jones has a heart in it, something like that. So I think we ended up calling it, I think, a mantle box or a 2-door box or something like that. But it's a small little like Craftsman mission style box that would, sit on a shelf, has 2 doors on it. Very, very nice design. Pretty simple construction. So I thought it'd be a good class. So we worked on that last night from 6 till 9. We got almost as far as I was hoping. We were lacking 2 parts that we probably could have gotten done if we would have stayed late, but I was exhausted, so I was like, nope, get out of my shop. But it was cool. I supplied material for the folk that were here. Alex chose to use some white oak and has some really, really nice, like it's bur oak. It is, I'm looking at the boards right now. I would say more riff sawn than quarter sawn. Didn't have a ton of rays in it. Just super clean though. Super clean and super nice. Super straight grain. That's going to be a really nice looking box. One of the ladies, Crystal, she decided to do a combination of maple and walnut. And then the other two were straight walnut boxes, which they chose to also include some sapwood. So it's kind of an interesting. And I was trying to tell them, like, hey, sapwood is cool if you're very thoughtful and diligent about how you use it. Like you don't want to just like a random sapwood streak doesn't usually look good. But like if you mirror it and they are kind of book matched pieces and you're using it in a way that creates like a gradient across a piece, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we did that, sent them home with homework to sand before next week or 2 weeks, I guess. But yeah, our second class of that will pop up in 2 weeks. And I think we'll probably put a third class together, maybe just an hour or two on a Saturday to finish it up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I made one of those boxes for YouTube. And I'll put a link to that if I can find where that is. In addition to that being just a beautiful box, it really works well as a teaching tool because of what's involved in it. Yes, you have some basic case construction going on. Mm-hmm. You throw in a few angles and curves.
Yep.
Without it being super critical.
And frame and panel doors.
So you have those, like case construction, doors, some profiling and detail stuff like that in a way that's not a huge investment, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the one that I am making out of ash because I happen to have some really nice clean quarters on that I wanted to use that was just shorts. So
yeah. Yeah, no, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's a cool box.
So what's your project going to be, Phil?
I'm doing 2 different classes. One of them is a 2-session class on making doors and drawers at the router table. Mm-hmm. I've had that requested quite a few times, especially making doors and drawers specifically. Like what are good ways to create those? And then I, being kind of a router table guy, decided to throw that wrinkle on there because I think there's really good ways to use your router table as a joinery tool primarily. So I'll show some ways to do that. So I think that'll be cool. And then the project one, I think I don't remember if it's a 3-part or a 4-part one.
It's a 4-part. I looked at it yesterday.
Okay. Is making a small tool chest that we did. I think Ted Krylacek designed it, but it was modeled after the founder of Woodsmith's grandfather's tool chest. So Don Peschke's grandfather, whose name escapes me right now. Yeah.
And it's kind of based off of like a carpentry apprentices like type of project that they would build.
A pretty big chest, isn't it?
No, it's I mean, for everybody who listens and is aware of like the anarchist tool chest from Chris Schwarz, it's not nearly that big. It's much smaller than that.
So I looked at the photos and the photos appeared bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah. Let me look because I have the plans here on my machine. So
you're only doing 2 classes with the woodworkers?
Yeah.
Okay. I have 3. I did this box. We have a coopered leg like side table. That was a Doug Stowe project we did. And then I'm doing a sharpening class. We do have I don't know if either one of those classes will be actually held, because we do have a 5-person minimum for a class, just so the Des Moines Woodworkers don't make money on these classes, and they do pay us as instructors. So I think 5 is like the minimum that they need to actually not lose money on the class.
Right.
So anybody in the Des Moines Woodworkers that's listening, join us for the Cooper leg side table and the sharpening class.
Yeah.
Because those two,
Or still sign up for
I need signups. Yeah.
Yeah, I need signups for the grandfather's tool chest. So the main case of the tool chest is 8.5 by 23.
Oh, that's not
just
near
like-
as big as the photos looked.
And then 10.25 deep are the parts. The construction is real simple. So we're going to talk about case construction, but then what I really like about this tool chest as a project is the way that you add on details to it.
Sure.
In terms of, you have just a basic box that you're making, and then you start adding on how the lid goes together and the profiles and all these pieces. And what you end up with is something really cool and easy to customize too.
Yeah. Yeah. As I was out here kind of prepping parts, cleaning, moving stuff around, I was thinking, I really enjoy teaching these classes for the Des Moines Woodworkers. I think you do too, Phil. And we did some classes through Woodsmith right before COVID started, like some weekend workshop type things. It made me have a little bit of a desire to host classes here, like on the weekends, and like bring people in. Like, I don't necessarily want to teach them, but like, have Phil come out and do a weekend class here, where people actually could travel in without being part of like the Des Moines Woodworkers.
Right.
Jimmy's told me the same thing. Like, hey, if you get a class together for turning, I'll come up and teach it. And it's made it a little more appealing. Everybody's opening a school. That's not what I want to do, but
right.
like, I enjoy having people in the shop. I enjoy introducing them to techniques and stuff like this. And, the one kid last night, Alex, I say kid, I don't know. I assume he's younger than me. I don't know. But he was like, holy crap, like this thing, like this case went together, like, wow. I was like, yeah, dude, it's like adult Legos. They're just way more expensive. Although if you bought Legos recently, that's not the case necessarily. but yeah, I really enjoy it. So I'm like, gosh, do I really want to go through the effort of trying to put together weekend classes, where it's like a full 2-day class, Saturday, Sundays. What can we get done? I need another table saw, which I don't want to tell my wife, there's stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah. I enjoy it. And I think we discovered that, just you and I doing those classes for the Des Moines Woodworkers, but we saw that with Woodworking in America, just being able to hang around with other woodworkers and talk about stuff and share ideas. So, yeah, I love those classes. And I thought that the ones that we had scheduled to do here in 2020 would have been really popular and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe still might happen.
Yeah.
Woodworking in America, hands-on. So, but yeah, I really enjoy those classes. So this is the first time you've done a class where you provided parts then?
Mm-mm.
No?
I've done, every class I've taught here for the most part, I've provided.
Oh.
I give people the option. It's like, hey,
sure,
if you want me to supply parts, cool. If you don't, here's what you need to bring. So I think the material for this box, I just told them like $30 for the materials, which ended up, it's not a ton of materials, but you'd spend way more than that if you went to the Woodsmith store to buy the materials. So
right. So what state do you get those to when you're putting those together?
It depends on the class.
Okay.
Because when I email out to everybody, I say, hey, here's the class, here's the date, here's how you get to my shop. Do you want me to supply materials? If so, here's the cost. Tell me if you want me to supply materials. And tell me your level of woodworking in your own mind. So, if they're beginners, I don't size the parts at all, which is counterintuitive. But I want them to be able to size parts and understand this is how we go from a rough board to a finished piece. You know what I mean? Because I think that's a foundation, right? Mm-hmm. So yesterday I had parts ready. The white oak, there was actually two people that asked for oak. Tim pivoted last second to walnut, which is fine because I got a lot of walnut. The white oak was 2-inch thick stuff, so I actually had resawn it all. So it was a, 10-inch wide board that was 2 inches thick and maybe 10 foot long. I basically lopped everything down to 24 inches, and I resawed the oak. And that was the state that everybody came into, was boards that were lopped to size, because then I could say, okay, here's what we're doing. We're looking at parts. We're looking at the boards. We want to choose fairly straight grain stuff for the sides. Choose a section where we can get both sides, end to end out of a board, because then the grain's going to look the same on both ends. Go to the bandsaw, rip them narrower, because then we need to get them on the jointer and then the planer and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was good. I think that is more beneficial than people coming into a bunch of Lego parts that we're just gluing and pin nailing together.
Sure.
So.
Special thanks to our sponsor for today's episode. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com. John, how about you? What do you got going on?
Since the event, I've been just trying to catch back up on all the desk work, I guess you'd call it. So I haven't really been in the shop much. I'm on customer service duty this week, so it's always a blast. Yeah. So I think I'm in a cycle where I'm in between when issues come out, so I don't hear any complaints about issues. Maybe we don't get a lot of complaints about stuff in the issues or that kind of thing, but a lot of questions on really old projects where it's you got to deep dive into sources or try to remember what the heck was this, and kind of dig into it. So it can be fun, but it's a lot of work. So
yeah, it's interesting because at Woodsmith we've always taken turns, right, with customer service. So it's
right,
all emails go to one box. You get, a week on duty, and then it goes to the next person. 2 weeks. 2 weeks on duty, and then it goes to the next person. So there's always 2 people or 3 people throughout the cycle that get issue just dropped. You get a lot of comments from the issue. And when I took over Pop Wood, it's we don't have that. I mean, all of them just come to me, which is cool, and it's really annoying. But it's I got a question the other day about the miter saw station. Guy was hey, and this always surprises me when it's oh God, somebody's actually going to build this thing that I put in the magazine. But this guy was hey, this is perfect. This is exactly, I have the Capex. This is exactly what I wanted. Here's a couple questions that I didn't see answers to. And I'm oh God, how did I not include those details in the article? And some of them you think are fairly self-explanatory, but then you're okay, I guess if you didn't design it, yeah, you would. There are questions on how you would do it, So
right,
yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I don't think you weren't on customer service duty, Phil, but you got an email passed along to you from a guy that was complaining that on one of our box joint jigs, it didn't have a materials and supplies list, and some of the drawings weren't great. So, which is weird because we supply a materials and supplies list for every project we've ever done, but that one didn't have it for some odd reason. So I redrew, because this was from an early ShopNotes before we even had our 3D modeling program. So I redrew it, got them all with like shop drawings, did a materials and supplies list, and sent that off to him. And he was super grateful. And it's like, oh, thanks or whatever. And then like a day later, he emailed me. He's like, I was on Facebook and I saw a different box joint jig that you guys did. I like that better. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, here's that one. So went to all the work on the one, and then so hopefully he gets 2 box joint jigs out of it. But he was super appreciative, which is always a plus, So
do you, as a designer, do you ever feel weird, or maybe you don't, but like, do you ever feel odd when it's like, oh God, somebody actually built that project that I designed?
Yes, it is very weird. I mean, it's kind of like
it's cool. That's what we're doing it for.
Cool. But it's like also when we meet people that listen to the podcast, it's like, that's weird that you listen. You weirdos. Why are you listening to our conversation?
I know. Well, it's like, I think one of the first projects that I designed for Pop Wood that, like, I had dozens of people email me that they built it, was that little splay leg shaker side table.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, really? Like, I just built that because I wanted that for my house, and it's like happens to be a good little magazine project. Yeah. But yeah, I was asking John, like, if it's weird as a designer when you see people building projects that you designed, because it's one of those things. Like, that's so weird to me.
Yeah.
But I get it. But it's weird.
I think that's just a personality thing where we're all pretty humble and grounded, that it's like, oh, people are actually paying attention to this and like what we're doing.
Weirdos.
Creepy.
Yeah.
So.
Brother, ew.
But yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
one thing that's interesting, going back to the customer service part, is what you said, John, about getting questions from the Wayback Machine, where you have to dig through, and having to do those gives you a really good idea of the types of projects that we've done in the past and how we've explained them. And I've used them as ideas for articles. If somebody has a question on this, then maybe other people do. And then from this project, I take out a technique from it and then turn it into a separate standalone article. But yeah, that was doing customer service is kind of what gave me a little bit of a, I don't know,
gray hair.
Encyclopedic knowledge of when stuff happens. Cause people say like, when did we do blah, blah, blah project? And it's like,
yeah. And a lot of the stuff from the 80s and early 90s, if we hadn't like done the project on a TV show or something and updated it, this was like pre-internet days. So a lot of the sources were like get
mail order
or Woodsmith kits, or so we didn't like we just sold the kit for it. So it's like, okay, I'll get on the internet and start searching. And
we get those from Pop Wood as well, but it's even worse because they're all contributing writers. So it's like, we may not have all those assets because they weren't internal, or the evolution of the Pop Wood website through a different company and stuff like that. We're missing links. So it's like, hey, I need the plans for that Titanic deck chair. It's like, well, we have the link, but we don't have. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a dead end. So yeah, those are always interesting.
Yeah, I think one of my greatest customer service victories was. Like a lot of times people will like clean out their offices here and put it out and like, hey, free table. And somebody had cleaned out their office and had the kit, like the hardware kit and plans for like a drop down kids or easel, like art thing or desk or something or other. And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I picked it up and put it in my office, and it probably sat there for a year or two, and I never did anything with it. And I happened to be on customer service, and a guy messaged. He's like, hey, I'm having a hard time finding the hardware for this kid's easel project. And I was like, I happen to have that kit in my office. What's your address? I'll ship it to you. Like, here are the sources. Because that was just way easier than like getting on the internet and searching for parts. So it's like,
and you made that guy's day.
Yep. I got
That's
it.
awesome.
Right here.
Yeah. That's funny.
So I probably still have a lot of stuff in my desk. I haven't cleaned it out recently. So people are looking for hardware. I got it.
There you go.
So I have a question for you guys. At the bandsaw, okay? Now, Phil, I know you're a big bandsawer. We've talked before about not taking tension off the blades. How often do you guys actually change the blades on a bandsaw in a perfect world? And how much do you actually do it?
Not ever.
I don't. I'm a hobbyist woodworker at home.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the bandsaw is my primary cutting tool, I'm still not using it a ton.
Sure.
But I will change blades when I notice that it is dull, in the sense that I can, because I've used the same model of blade for, I don't know, 8 years now.
You know when it's not cutting right? Yeah.
When it's not cutting right, because it's really slow, or you can really hear the saw laboring on cuts, or you'll start to see more distortions in terms of deeper blade scoring marks on the sides of the cut.
So you're not changing blades per task necessarily?
No, which is funny because we were just talking about that here in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a holiday gift project for a Grizzly video.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had put the 3/8 inch blade on the Grizzly saw here in the studio. And I'm doing that Christmas tree centerpiece, and it's a lot of scrolling cuts in there. And I just didn't want to change blades. So it's more, it ended up being more relief cuts to make, but it went fine. It took a little bit to cut out, but part of that is like, you just have a bunch of people watching you cut out stuff. So,
yeah. Now I asked this because, so I ordered a couple Harvey tools. Don't tell my wife.
This is how I usually go to explain to my wife. Okay, things got out of hand.
Yes. Well, yes. So, oh God, this is embarrassing. So there is now a shaper in my shop. So the people have said, obviously you guys don't know anything about shaper. I'm going to learn stuff about the shaper now because I have one and I'm going to mess around with it. And it's freaking heavy. It's like 600 pounds. Second, I ordered one of their 3 horsepower bandsaws because I've heard such good things about them. Okay. While it was on order, it's one of those things like, ooh, you know what I need for a bandsaw? I need to order 5 blades. So I ordered 5 different blades. Okay. So I ordered blades from Timberwolf. Now, I do like the wood slicers from Highland, but they were out of stock at the size I needed, which was 132 inches. So I ordered the Timberwolves, which I've had good luck with Timberwolves. I've liked them. I ordered 5 blades. Okay, ordered a 3/4 inch wide one for resawing. I ordered a 3/8. Maybe I ordered 4. I ordered a 3/8, and then a 3/8 green blade, so for cutting like bulb lengths and stuff, and then a 1/4 inch blade or maybe an 1/8 inch blade for doing curves. And I have been pretty diligent. I also ordered a carbide tipped one for the big bandsaw. So I ordered a custom Laguna Resaw King for the big bandsaw, which means I gotta actually get those wheels put back on. But anyways, different story. And I've, over the last couple of days of prepping parts and stuff, I've been pretty diligent about switching blades back and forth. The blade that came with the Harvey actually was pretty decent. It was a 3/4 inch blade, but it was a pretty fine tooth 3/4 inch blade, which I thought was a little interesting. Because you're not going to do any like scroll work with a 3/4 inch blade, like maybe some large radius stuff. But I've been pretty diligent about switching the blade back and forth. I will say the first time, overall, this Harvey bandsaw is fantastic. It is maybe one of the better bandsaws I've ever used. The Crescent's pretty sweet too, but like for newer bandsaws, this is one of the better ones I've ever used, I think. Their guide system's really, really nice. Everything's really tight. There's a shock assist for the table tilt, and the table is their new nickel plated one. So it's like, I brought the Powermatic from my shop to the shop down there. That has the Armor Glide table, which is the Teflon based table, which is really nice because I cut a lot of green wood and I don't want it to rust, right?
Yeah.
But all that said, the first time I changed the blade on this Harvey, I'm like, there is so many steps to changing the blade. It's not just a release tension, pull the pin out of the edge of the table, and switch the blade. There are a lot of different guards in the way. And there is a very tight opening. So where the slot in the table is for that blade to go in to get to the lower guides, there is a tilt mechanism right there. So it's very tight. It's almost like you have to make a U shape with the blade and get it in the bearing hole before you rotate the blade around and put it on the tires. The first time I did it, I'm like, this is kind of dumb. Now it's like, oh, it's easy. Now I know how to do it. So it's like, I can change the blade in 2 minutes. And I've actually been pretty diligent about changing the blade between resawing and doing scroll cuts and stuff like that. And for the class last night, I put the 3/8 inch non-green woodworking blade on because I figured that will do the curves I need to cut. People can rip with it. There's enough backbone there for people to rip the stock. But yeah, it was interesting because I've been the Powermatic I had, I think, a 1/2 inch blade for, and I never changed it. But now that I ordered, 4 blades, I've been pretty diligent about it, and I've been pretty happy with it. I know it's one of those things that not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I've found that it does make a difference for what I'm doing, at least.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I have the 1/2 inch wood slicer on my home shop saw, and that's the one I just leave on all the time. I do have a 1/4 inch blade for it, but I honestly can't tell you the last time that I put it on there. It was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I should have a 1/4 inch blade for doing curves and such. And it's like, yeah, but when, other than like, say, this Christmas tree project, when are you doing a project that you would say is a lot of curves?
Yeah, well, and
for me, anyway.
Yeah, and I think people, they underestimate how tight of radius you can cut with a fairly wide blade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a 3/4 inch blade can still cut a fairly tight radius. Tighter than you would think.
Especially if you're Chris Fitch.
Yes. Then you just bend the blade to your will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I actually find like I don't have where's one of the sides? So this is the side to this little box. And that's the radius on that. Mm-hmm. And I cut that. I had everybody cut that with the 3/8 inch blade. Because I find like a 3/8 inch blade isn't that wide, but like having a wider blade, I think makes it easier to get a gradual curve.
Yes.
Because you can kind of rub that back edge of the blade and help steer it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm probably leaving that 3/8 inch blade on there most of the time, especially once this Resaw King gets in for the big bandsaw, because then that's my Resaw saw,
Yeah. Yeah. I would totally, if somebody is doing a lot of scroll work, then I could say having a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch blade on your bandsaw is the one to use. But, for my use doing furniture-ish projects, the 1/2 inch blade does so much, and you could, for really tight curves, use a Forstner bit, drill out that curve, and then all you have to do is straight line to it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Or the technique of using the front edge of the bandsaw blade as like a rasp, to kind of go side to side across and scrape away material. Like you can do a lot of shaping pretty quickly with that kind of motion as well.
Yep. Yeah. So no, it's been cool. Another thing, and when you guys come out here, you'll see. I think the size of this bandsaw, it's smaller. the size of the bandsaw is the same as the Powermatic. It's a 15-inch bandsaw. I think it has a little bit longer blade, but the bandsaw is much smaller, which I really like because I started to run out of freaking room in here, man. Like, got rid of I got rid of the Powermatic bandsaw, so I started shifting the lathes around. So now the pattern maker lathes in the middle of the shop, the Vic Mark's up against the wall. That cleared up that one wall for me to put the shaper at. Although I didn't realize this is a critique on the shaper. You have to have 30 inches of access from the back of it to change the belt speeds.
Oh.
And to change the collet, which is on a drawbar system. Which I'm like, come on, guys, couldn't you put that door on the side of the machine? Because then you could put it up against the wall. So I'm gonna have to figure out where that's going to live. But yeah. But I appreciate this bandsaw being a little bit smaller. The footprint's not significantly different. Much lower table though. I always felt like the Powermatic was a little bit of a high table for me.
Okay.
Although when we moved it into the shop, it's next to two Lagunas. Those are also high tables.
Yeah.
So I like that this one's a little bit lower. As a short guy.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that wraps up another episode of the ShopNotes podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks, the email address, as always, woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or you can leave a comment on the YouTube channel where you can watch the episodes. Sometimes we'll show off projects like the little box that Logan is teaching. Don't forget to check out the show notes page at shopnotes.com/podcast to catch up with any links or other things, resources that we've mentioned there. Special thanks to all of our subscribers, the Woodsmith Unlimited members and Popwood Plus members who make the ShopNotes podcast possible. Don't forget also to check out our Thursday shop updates on both Facebook and YouTube, where you'll see what's going on behind the scenes here at Woodsmith and ShopNotes. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.